Hey guys, Trenton Allen here. Welcome back for another episode of our movie reviews. And today is a movie that I don't see a lot of people talking about. And it's Rian Johnson's Glass Onion, the standalone slash sequel to Knives Out. The reason why they say he says standalone because all it is just another adventure of Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, in his very stereotypical Kentucky accent. Like, I don't know if it's great or bad. It's entertaining at the very least. When I heard that Rian Johnson was making a quote unquote sequel, more like I said, standalone to Knives Out, I was a little excited actually because I remember watching Knives Out back when it came out, and I found it very enjoyable. I love murder mysteries. Sherlock Holmes is one of my favorite characters of that type of genre. I love detective stuff. I like that stuff that makes you poke your brain. And I remember saying that in our Blood of Zeus review that I was going to be doing a Glass Onion review. So here we are. I'm going to do this kind of how I usually do movie reviews. Gonna do the non-spoiler stuff. Actually, yeah. I'll definitely, actually, in fact, I'll keep this very quick and clean. So, technical stuff, then I'll get to the actors and the plot itself, and what I thought about it, and as a whodunit and as a murder mystery. The technical stuff, I thought the sound design was very well done. The music, I thought was I don't know if whimsical is the right word. It was very classic with its murder mystery. I thought Knives Out was very well done with this. The editing and cinematography is, excuse me, has always been a strong point with Rian Johnson. Even if you don't agree with some of his cinematography, like for example, Last Jedi, I could see the arguments of that going against that as a cinematic standpoint. Dude really loves his close-ups, and it's just as apparent here. In Glass Onion. But it was done a little bit better than Last Jedi. Well, anything by him is probably better than Last Jedi because that was a travesty. Excuse me. But like I said, this continues an adventure for Benoit Blanc, Daniel Craig's character. Like I said earlier, he's just as entertaining. If you find his accent offensive or find it hilarious, I find it hilarious, and it's just a neat little quirk that he put in. Honestly, I actually did like the idea of that instead of him going full British. Because honestly, it'd just be like looking like at James Bond or anybody else. So it was a neat little quirk they added in Knives Out, and in this one as well. We had a big ensemble for Knives Out, and it's definitely the same here. Let's see if I can actually get the cast real quick. Yeah, we got Edward Norton as one of the main characters, as the whole premise of this movie is that Benoit Blanc is mistakenly invited to a murder mystery game hosted by a tech billionaire, Edward Norton's character. So, and it's a whole different conspiracy with frenemies and rivalries and the whole shebang here about this as this inner circle with this tech tycoon. You could say. We do have a few others. Not a lot that I actually know of. I believe I remember Catherine Hahn. I know her. She was from Parks and Recreation, the sitcom on Peacock. Hilarious. I recommend anybody who knows it. Let me know in the comments if you've seen Parks and Recreation, because that is really good. We also have Leslie Odom Jr. is also in it. Kate Hudson, Dave Bautista, which I was excited for Dave Bautista. I've been really getting into like in his movies. And I think I know Leslie Odom Jr. I don't remember if I've seen him in anything particular, but I feel like I know the name. So Ethan Hawke makes a cameo as just a rant, as just a arbitrary minor character that shows up for like 5 seconds and is gone. So I was a little sad that we didn't get to see Ethan Hawke as much. So back to the technical stuff. I thought the setting, obviously the you could see some blue screen, green screen of some of the scene on some of the set. One thing I know about Rian Johnson is that he has a lot of built set already. Because I remember that the throne room in Last Jedi, as well as Knives Out, which is very practical regardless. But the reason why I use the throne room in Last Jedi in particular is because that's a sci-fi, and kind of borderlines that in Glass Onion. I can tell a lot of the set was already built. The throne room in Last Jedi in particular was completely real. It was built. That they actually did set on fire. Surprised no one got hurt. So, yeah. But there was a lot of this setting that was very green screen and CGI. I wasn't too surprised that they would do this, but also, okay. I wonder how that works. This tech guy, it seems the borderline Elon Musk and Tony Stark. Like, what the heck? Like, I don't find it believable, but I also do at the same time. It's one of those things. I'm getting too much off track. Again, the editing was pretty solid. At times, it felt a little off, and I'll get into it in a second. I'm sure if you've already watched some videos, you probably watched Critical Drinker and his video on it. His video is very short and quick to the point about this. I saw a lot of reviews on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff saying that this movie was either very poorly received or it was a masterclass in whodunits and mysteries, like worthy successor stuff. And I'm half and half here. The one thing, and I will talk about some of it, was the ending. That knocks it down a whole point. And it's not, the ending aside, Rian Johnson's writing has always been a half and half for me. There are some things where I really like about his writing, and then there's others where I don't like it. Mainly his attempts at subverting expectations. For example, he tried doing that with Last Jedi, didn't work. Did it with Knives Out, it did work. So clearly his bread and butter is the murder mystery genre, and that's kind of clear cut here. And from the people saying that this movie is a great sequel standalone, you could say that there's a lot of great subversions here. When on a first watch, it's when you watch it again is where a lot of those cracks show. Because either people say it's really brilliant or really dumb. And I like that there's a line in that in the actual movie by Benoit Blanc saying that it's just dumb. I'm sure it's been memed at this point. Excuse me. So I made a few notes because murder mystery, I wanted to make it a little. I wanted to keep notes for myself just so if I could spot any discrepancies or anything like that. I will say that the acting, and I'll get into the plot itself in a second. That's where a lot of these notes are. And a lot of the acting here is where it really dips for me in terms of quality. A lot of the acting is hollow and just cringe, and it's just a bunch of lines that they just threw together and just, yeah, this is a script. Yeah, people talk like this. And I was not very invested with the dialogue in the script. I'm not going to lie here. Benoit Blanc's always fun to watch when he deduces stuff. It's always great to watch. But it didn't feel as impactful in this one compared to Knives Out. So it's all over the place. So, by a production standpoint, technically wise, this is a very solid film. Don't make no mistake. This is a very solid made film. It's very well done. The lighting, the sound, setting, cinematography, it's all really well done. Costume design, kind of hit or miss, depending. It's mainly Benoit Blanc's fashion choice that really cements it. And like I said, Critical Drinker kind of just goes nuts on it in like 11 minutes because his videos are very quick about it, which I will put in the description below. So please give him a check out and subscribe to him because he's great. It's the acting and the writing that kind of dips it for me. As I said, like in my previous videos, for example, my Rings of Power video, where I thought that show was a disappointment, I said to myself, and if I'm not mistaken in that video, I said that it doesn't matter how good the visuals, it sounds, or anything like that looks, it's if it's written well. And if it's not written well and it looks good, then what's the point? Like, I'm not going to enjoy it. It just looks flashy, even though it's terrible. And it makes me hate it even more that it had that kind of effort put into the looks and sound, but not in its script or its characters. Don't want to get off topic there, though. It's kind of what it feels here, but not in the same degree. So the writing is half and half. There are some points, like I said, where I did enjoy it, and other points where I didn't. And what do I rate it? This is not okay. I'll go non-spoilers here, and you could click off the video right now. After my verdict, and you can go watch it for yourself. Come back and watch the spoiler section. But non-spoilers, final verdict. I think Glass Onion is a 6 out of 10. This is my consensus. I wrote down a consensus. Daniel Craig leads an all-star cast that acts wooden. Rian Johnson's subversive writing is still on point as it was in Knives Out, but it doesn't have the intellectual depth the predecessor has. And that's where I can really just say that's how I feel about it, non-spoilers wise. If you want to click off this video now, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. But now we get to the spoiler stuff, and I'll give my thoughts on it. My thoughts on that. The main guy, Miles Braun, Edward Norton's character, tech tycoon, invites his friends to his private island in Greece, of all things, for a murder mystery weekend. He sends all these elaborate puzzle boxes to send invitations. And like, it's so out of nowhere, like how complex it is. Just like, one of the characters, and I actually agree with her method, is just break it open. Like, because a whole point of it is like the whole, like, you like cross your eyes and it's like perspective, and it's like where's north, and puzzle pieces up. I'm like, well, can I just break it? Like, what's the point? Can I just break it and get the invitation out? Because yes, it looks great. The mechanics, it's really great, but why? Why do that to you? And Benoit Blanc gets one, and he's invited. and everyone's confused. And Edward Norton's character, Miles Braun's like, oh, yeah, the murder mystery. They probably thought it was a gag. Let's get the greatest detective to do this. And, yeah, and without question, he just says, yeah, you're a guest on my island. Okay. That doesn't really help. And they get to the dinner, like, this is like classic murder mystery. Happens at dinner. Dude gets shot by a crossbow. That's like the whole thing. Yeah, Miles Brown's because he doesn't actually. The whole plan is that he wasn't supposed to die. It's supposed to be like a cool little role play, like, oh, I am dead, but I'm gonna be wandering around, but you can't ask me questions. It's gonna be all you guys. And Blanc ruins the whole thing in about like 20 seconds. He figures it all out, and it was a little funny. It was a little funny for me seeing that. Saying this whole, like, it was supposed to take the whole weekend, and he solves it in, like, that's gotta be humiliating trying to figure that out. But it's revealed that he didn't even write that Miles Braun didn't even come up with it. He had somebody else write the story. I thought that was funny as hell. And Blanc, before this happens, Blanc goes around trying to figure, like, oh, why is this? It turns out that not everyone like likes each other or something like that. And they all have like a weird legitimate reason to wish him harm, which he explains to Miles that everyone has a legitimate reason to hate you and kill you. For example, two of the characters, Lionel, the head scientist of this tech company, and Claire, a governor, don't support Miles's intentions to manufacture and distribute a new hydrogen-based fuel. Because if it's done dangerously, basically a household like this one could blow up like the Hindenburg. That's literally the metaphor they use. Turns into the Hindenburg. And that's honestly rightfully so. And a fashion designer, Birdie, is having some political falling out because this character has a bad habit of telling it like she sees it. Basically, she talks thoughtlessly instead of telling the truth. I like there was a line that Blanc says that I really liked. It's dangerous to confuse telling the truth and talking talking thoughtlessly. And I full-heartedly agree with that and she's having a falling out with a company because she thought sweatshops were places that made sweatpants. That's not what those are, and she's getting flack for it. And Miles won't help her, Miles is trying to push to her to say this thing for a press conference. Yeah, it's a whole thing that might ruin her reputation. Dave Bautista's character is a Twitch streamer, men's right Twitch streamer, actually, and it's shown that that Miles is sleeping with his girlfriend, and it might be a big problem because obviously cheating on your significant other is a stupid thing to do, and shame on you if you actually do that. And Andy, one of a former head of the company, co-founder actually, would wish harm because of the loss of her company. That's basic stuff. And there was a couple others like Peg, Birdie, the fashion designer's assistant, because she supports Birdie. That's kind of fair. Crime of accomplice, and there's this funny guy going around like saying, just ignore him here, just ignore me here. I legitimately thought he was going to be he was a suspect because who would suspect him? He's just there to be like, hey, I'm not here. Don't just leave me be. I'm not here. That's it. Whiskey Duke's Dave Bautista's character Duke is clear. At first, I questioned like what would be her motive, and yeah, with all these in mind, yeah, Blanc has a lot of way to think this, and we move on. At like the whole weekend's done. It's everyone's got like tensions high because they're just tired of this crap. And then something happens. There's a couple things going on. Like yeah, Miles is trying to get like hey let's get this party moving. Let's go. And it just kind of it feels like it's trying to be forced, and then it doesn't. And then like Duke's like hey I check out my numbers. Like this changes things. You want to talk about being part of Alpha News or anything? And he's like yeah man. And Duke drinks a drink and he dies. Just out of nowhere. And everyone panics because Blanc says like, "Hey, you probably got this going on," and everyone panics. Everyone panics, and Miles is like, "There's supposed to be something that happens at 10 o'clock, and the lights go out." Everyone panics because the roleplay stuff, got to do that, and everything. And as everyone's panicking and running through the darkness, Blanc meets with Andy, who he calls Helen, and they try to talk and try to figure out what's going on, and then Andy gets shot by an unknown assailant. And I thought, what the hell? This is where the story. This is an hour in. This is a 2-hour movie, and this is the hour. Then we get a whole extended flashback regarding that Andy committed suicide, and Helen, the twin sister, is miraculously there. Suspects other foul play. Hires Benoit Blanc, that one of these, really crappy friends, because they're all crappy friends, did something, and they come up with a big big ploy. Like Blanc says, like, yeah, I can help with the press, be done with it about another week, and her death won't be found out until like the next week. They come with the idea that she poses as her sister, goes through this whole conspiracy, and they try to figure out who killed her sister. So it's like a subversion of expectations here that Andy, it's not who wants to kill Miles, it's who killed Andy, the twin sister. I thought like, yeah, it's a little neat, but also kind of out of nowhere and out of pocket. After an hour, what are you going to do for the next hour? It's revealed that when she shot, her sister's whole journal took the bullet. Turns out Andy was against the whole. Before that, Andy was against the whole hydrogen fuel thing because it'd be dangerous. Just from this whole notebook, just everything, because she somehow chronicalized everything. I guess people are just that determined to do so. And she survives. They have like a convenient hot sauce to play as, blood. And while Benoit Blanc buys time, Helen goes up each of the rooms and tries to find a red envelope, because it's revealed in the flashback that Andy had found a napkin that she wrote the idea of the company on, and she put it in a red envelope, and she emailed everybody saying like, hey, I got it, you guys are screwed, because her friends didn't back her up in court. They committed perjury. And she finds it, and Benoit Blanc deduces that Miles was the one that did it. And yeah, he kind of just accepts it with grace, surprisingly, because he took the idea of the company and revealed that he also killed Duke and stole his gun. Um, because Duke always has a Google alert, and he saw Andy's death, and he's like tries to blackmail. It's revealed that he had an allergy of pineapple because in an earlier scene he's like, "It does this thing have pineapple? Because I don't swing that way." Miles makes him a drink and he puts pineapple juice in it, and he like forces it, like lets him take it, and he drinks it, dies, and a lot of the stuff is in plain sight, and they try to make that a point in this movie, that everything is in plain sight. It doesn't. I don't know. I don't know if it's brilliant or dumb to do that. So, yeah, Benoit Blanc says like, yeah, I deduced that it's you, and for some reason Helen holds the evidence right in his face and he burns it right then and there. Like, why'd you wave it in his face? Honestly, you're the idiot here. And Benoit Blanc's like, well, I can't do anything because everything is circumstantial evidence. That was our only physical evidence. That's his jurisdiction and classic police jurisdiction. So, and as a temper tantrum, Helen starts just knocking over glass sculptures all over the place while the other friends get involved because they're like, well, fuck it, why not? Why not? So they continue, and they do that, and she sets a couch on fire and takes the hydrogen fuel particle that Miles tossed Blanc, who also gave it to Helen, as a somehow permanent reminder of why her sister walked away in the first place, chucks it in the fire, blows up everything, but they're not harmed in any way. What? It continues on. Apparently Miles had the Mona Lisa on loan, which is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And it's in a protective glass, but it can be opened by a weird bobblehead. First of all, why would you have that feature? That doesn't make any sense. She presses the button, it opens up, and it burns the Mona Lisa, thereby ruining the chance of using a hydrogen fuel to the world because it destroyed the most famous painting in the world that you had on loan. That still doesn't make sense. And police show up, and yeah, that's about how that movie goes. This was very inconsistent. I thought this was a very inconsistent ending. I thought it was jumbled as hell. For me, an ending is a whole point. If you mess up the ending, you get a point taken off. And I was gonna give this a 7 because I was still entertained, and like if you go look at it, I'm like, yeah, it's in plain sight. How could I not have seen it? I remember what I was told I saw, but yeah. But it's during the flashback that they re-edited scenes because Duke wasn't angry that he was being cheated on. He was angry at the fact that Miles won't support him because of the whole thing, because of a whole other thing. And you have Helen in the background in the flashback, even though she wasn't clearly visible in the original scene. It was inconsistent editing, and they try. I'm not gonna say it's pretentious. I just think it's just dumb that they try to advertise this like, oh, it's all in plain sight. Plain sight. Well, yeah, it's in plain sight, but also you had crappy editing on some of the scenes, so you didn't really convey that. Maybe if I rewatched it and the original scene with Duke, maybe I could have seen Helen, but you didn't edit it that way. So, I'll go with my original stance on this. It is a 6 out of 10. It's an above average film. I thought like I said, I think Rian Johnson. I think his bread and butter is murder mystery. But this one, I guess, coming off of a success that was Knives Out, there was a lot to be considered here. I love Knives Out. I think it's one of the better movies he's made. I think that's a very solid 9 out of 10. This one just misses some of the mark. Daniel Craig and Rian Johnson's are still on point, but doesn't have the same intellectual depth. It doesn't have the same depth as the first one. So, and I am excited for the next ones because they are planning on making more, and I'll see them. Why not? I'll see them, and I'll review them for you guys. But this one wasn't that enticing compared to the first one. So I'll have to leave it with an above average score. But I would say give it a watch. I still recommend give this a watch and say what you will on it. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of Glass Onion. Leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more of this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.